It's a pleasure to speak with this group about the journey that we are on Brook Bond Red Label, India's oldest tea brand. It's well over 100 years old. But I think the last 10 years, we've been on this mission, if you like, of making India more inclusive. And over the next 20 minutes or so, I'll talk to you about what we've been up to. So I think the first thing that we've very consciously done is that inclusion is not that extra thing or that extracurricular thing that we do. It's not the last thing that we do after everything else has been done. It is the first thing we do. Our first advertising rupee goes behind inclusion. And it has a very important consequence. The important consequence is that 200 million households in India see our ad every month for the last 10 years. So at this size and scale, we hope that we might have been able to move the needle as far as sensitizing people to inclusion is concerned. The other question that we might have is that if a mainstream brand in an everyday category like tea decides to champion inclusion, it must be able to do it credibly. I mean, ultimately, we're selling a cup of tea. And how can tea India make India more inclusive is also something that we very strongly believe in. We think that the humble chai can indeed make India more inclusive because what we call common ground is just a cup away is how we do it. So two people, however different they may be, can find common ground over a cup of tea. And that is really our idea, finding common ground over a cup of tea. And we call it common ground is just a cup away. And we've done a whole bunch of ads, which I'm going to show you now, and how we have talked about inclusion of various groups. So how can a cup of tea help make you more inclusive towards someone who practices another religion? Here it goes.
चाबी नहीं मिल रही।
अरे यार, ये रोज का झगड़ा है।
मैंने चलते हुए बैग में रखी थी।
बैग में डाली तो कहाँ चली गई? हवा निकल गई उसकी। ढंग से देखो ना यार।
चाबी भूल गए आप?
जी?
आइए ना, हमारे यहाँ इंतजार कीजिए।
अब नहीं, हम ठीक है। देखते रहो उसको, इसको बार-बार।
सुनिए, मैं चाय बना रही हूँ, आइए।
करो फोन ताले वाले।
चाय की बहुत अच्छी खुशबू आती है इसके घर से।
आती होगी। तुम्हारे घुटनों में दर्द हो गया होगा, तो चलो अंदर बैठ के इंतजार करते हैं।
अम्मी,
चीनी कितने लेंगे?
कुछ घरों की चाय में अपनेपन का स्वाद होता है।
चाय बहुत अच्छी बनी है।
एक कप चाय और मिलेगी।
जी।
ब्रुक बॉन्ड रेड लेबल, स्वाद अपनेपन का।
So that was the first piece of work that we did about 10 years ago with the wonderful folks from Ogilvy. The next aspect of inclusion that we did was values. Obviously, people come with different value sets, and how can they find common ground over a cup of tea?
Happy birthday, चिराग।
माँ, ये पल्लवी है। हम लोग साथ रहते हैं। बैठिए ना।
मैं आती हूँ।
इन्हें डायबिटीज है।
आंटी, ये बिना चीनी वाली ही है और ये 2 चम्मच वाली आपकी।
इलायची डाली है?
हाँ।
अच्छी नहीं लगी?
बुरी नहीं है।
कुछ घरों की चाय में अपनेपन का स्वाद होता है। ब्रुक बॉन्ड रेड लेबल, स्वाद अपनेपन का।
We followed this one with people with mental health concerns. How can we reach out to them? How can we find common ground with someone who has mental health issues?
एक वक्त था जब पूरी कॉलोनी इनके हाथ की चाय पीने के लिए आती थी, पर 3 साल पहले इन्हें भूलने की बीमारी हो गई, अल्जाइमर्स। बस कॉलोनी भी इनको भूल गई।
अमित, चाय तो तूने बहुत अच्छी बनाई बेटा।
अरे रहने दो, झूठ मत बोलो। वैसे मेरा नाम अमित नहीं है। अमित इनका बेटा है जो अमेरिका में रहता है, आता रहता है। मैं नूतन आंटी का पड़ोसी हूँ और मुझे लगता है कि अपनों को भूल जाना सबसे बड़ी बीमारी है।
आधी आधी और हो जाए।
एकदम, अभी लो।
ब्रुक बॉन्ड रेड लेबल, स्वाद अपनेपन का।
So this actually went quite global in the sense that the Alzheimer's Society in the UK, they were quite touched about it and they reached out to us and they wanted to know more. The point is that when you do work with inclusion at the heart, it just manages to find its way to the right quarters and it just has a snowballing effect, is the reflection we have on it. There's, of course, the elderly. Many times the elderly feel isolated in society and all they need is for someone to reach out to them with a cup of tea.
हे, कोई शास्त्री सर आए हैं।
अरे शास्त्री सर, आप इतने साल बाद?
कॉलेज का एनुअल फंक्शन है।
लक्ष्मी, सर के लिए जरा चाय बना ले।
हाँ, चाय। अरे नहीं, रुको, सर के लिए चाय मैं बनाऊंगा। कॉलेज हॉस्टल में सर को मेरी चाय बहुत पसंद थी। कैसी लगी सर?
वही कहूँ जो कॉलेज में कहा करता था, इंजीनियरिंग छोड़ दे, चाय का स्टॉल खोल ले।
ब्रुक बॉन्ड रेड लेबल, स्वाद अपनेपन का।
This was one more that did well. Of course, one of the aspects of inclusion is people with different food habits or dietary preferences. And we thought, why not get them to find common ground over chai?
ए मोड़े, चाय? अरे नहीं भाई नहीं, तू ठहरा चिकन मटन खाने वाला। तेरे घर का पानी भी पी लिया ना तो माँ नाराज हो जाएगी। तू ना आधा कप मैं भी। और माँ को मैं बाद में सॉरी बोल दूंगा।
ब्रुक बॉन्ड रेड लेबल, स्वाद अपनेपन का।
One learning we had in this is that if we have a light-hearted take on a serious issue, it just goes down well in mass advertising. I mean, we can't be serious about a serious issue or light-hearted about a light-hearted issue. You know, it's the combination that seems to work. Of course, trans people and inclusion is something that we touched upon as well here.
ये किन्नर भी ना परेशान करने आ जाते हैं।
अरे नहीं माँ जी, कुछ लेने नहीं देने आई हूँ। बगल में मेरी चाय की दुकान है और बारिश में सब अटके हुए थे तो सोची सबको एक एक कप चाय पिला दूँ। लीजिए लीजिए ना।
लाओ,
आप भी लीजिए। आती हो?
अरे सुनो।
हाँ?
जरा इधर आओ।
अरे नहीं माँ जी, आज पैसे नहीं लूंगी।
पैसे कौन दे रहा है? सदा सुखी रहो।
ब्रुक बॉन्ड रेड लेबल, स्वाद अपनेपन का।
This particular piece of advertising was adjudged the best ad of Unilever in the year that it was made. Of all the hundreds of ads that we make in the company in a year, in the year that we made this, it was adjudged the best ad. And I guess it's not very surprising. During COVID, we felt that the voice of inclusion had a role to play, and we felt that COVID times were probably becoming worse or can probably become better if an inclusive voice were to be heard. So with that intent is what we did this.
आ गया अमित हॉस्पिटल से। देखो मैं कह रहा हूँ, महीने भर उसके घर से दूर रहेंगे, गेट के पास भी नहीं जाएंगे और सारी खिड़कियां बंद कर देते हैं। ये तीसरा कप किसके लिए?
अमित के लिए।
क्या?
उसे अकेले रहने के लिए कहा है, अकेला छोड़ने के लिए नहीं ना।
हम दूर रहकर भी अपनापन दिखा सकते हैं। ब्रुक बॉन्ड रेड लेबल, स्वाद अपनेपन का।
So the point was about, you can have social connections despite being physically distanced. And this one also hit the spot in the context of COVID. Of course, our latest one, which might be fresh in some of your memories, is just about strangers. How would the world look like if we trusted strangers and if we just became more inclusive in that respect?
बेटा कौन एडमिटेड है हॉस्पिटल में?
पापा।
क्या हुआ है? चाय लोगे?
नहीं, थैंक्स। एक कप। वाह, ये पीकर एकदम घर वाली फीलिंग आ गई। वैसे आपका कौन एडमिट है?
कोई नहीं, वो सामने का घर मेरा है, वहां से रोज देखती हूँ। यहाँ लोग बड़े अकेले लगते हैं ना, तो चली आती हूँ उनके साथ चाय पीने।
फिर तो बहुत सारी चाय बनानी पड़ती होगी।
अच्छा लगता है।
ब्रुक बॉन्ड रेड लेबल, स्वाद अपनेपन का।
Yeah, so that's been our sort of 10-year advertising journey where we've been able to find some aspect or some axis of inclusion that we could champion. And the fact that we find ourselves in a position where we can do this at scale is, I think, both a privilege and an opportunity which we want to make the most of. Of course, there's more to brand marketing than just advertising. There's opportunity to actually take action. We internally call it brand say or brand do. And one of the things that we are proud of having done is having sponsored India's first transgender music band. So the six-pack band that some of you might have heard of in 2016 was actually sponsored by us. It's a wonderful piece of content created by our partners. The crowning glory for this initiative was, of course, a Grand Prix at Cannes, which is the Oscars of advertising, as you know. And we had our bandmates fly all the way to Cannes and do a little performance there, which I want to show you.
I am pleased to welcome the winners of last year's Glass Grand Prix, India's first transgender band, the Brook Bond Red Label 6-pack band.
राजू ताली देना।
So that was what we did a few years back. Another thing that we have attempted to do, and we're still, to be honest, finding our feet here, but the idea is to provide vocation to people with disabilities and other such communities by getting them to open a tea stall. I mean, it's obvious we're in the tea business, so if we can get people with disabilities to run a tea stall, it would be good in every sense. So we started to attempt it. We tried to do some training. We set up a few shops in Chennai, but to be honest, things haven't gone as per plan so far. So we've maybe gone back to the drawing board and we're trying to see how we can do this better. In fact, if anyone here has got the wherewithal or the infrastructure to help us make this happen, please reach out to us and we will gladly collaborate with you. But the idea of running a tea shop as a vocation to people with disabilities remains. And last but not least is context. There are so many things which keep happening in a particular market and society. And if we deliver our message in that context, a message of inclusion, we feel that it's a great idea. And the thing about these contexts is that it's a great opportunity to unstereotype, as the theme of today's conference goes. We all know that stereotypes are probably the biggest barrier to inclusion, and contexts or occasions are just wonderful opportunities to unstereotype and champion inclusion even harder. So let me show you a few examples. Like Women's Day, this is what we did.
He loves to make tea, but that doesn't make him a girl. He knows just how much sugar to add, but that doesn't make him a girl. He pours it gracefully, but that doesn't make him a girl. He makes it for both of them, but that doesn't make him a girl. It just makes him a boy who girls like. Brook Bond Red Label, taste of togetherness.
So, this was obviously a great opportunity to unstereotype gender roles. Likewise, on Republic Day, we found another great opportunity to unstereotype and include a set of people.
One ticket, please.
300, please.
300.
मैडम पासपोर्ट।
आधार कार्ड नहीं चलेगा?
अरे आप चाय पियेंगी?
जी जरूर।
ये लीजिए प्लीज।
चेहरों में नहीं, इंसानों में बसता है इंडिया।
So people from some parts of the country are stereotyped as not being from the country, and a cup of tea can do something about that as well. And yes, we are the land of festivals, and festivals also provide us a wonderful opportunity to unstereotype.
भैया, वो बप्पा की मूर्ति लेनी थी घर के लिए।
हाँ हाँ बिल्कुल, आता हूँ। आइए।
भैया वो पहली बार बप्पा को घर पे बिठाना है, तो कुछ स्पेशल बताइए ना।
आइए, ये देखिए।
4 भुजा वाली मूर्ति।
जी, इसे अभय मुद्रा कहते हैं।
अच्छा।
अरे छोटू, चाय चलेगी?
बिल्कुल।
देखिए।
भैया वो कोई बप्पा की मूषक के साथ वाली?
हाँ हाँ है ना आगे, आइए।
हाँ, इस मूर्ति में है ना बप्पा अपने वाहन के साथ?
मूषक, आप जानते हैं, मूषक बापा का वाहन बनने से पहले एक असुर था।
आपको तो काफी कुछ पता है। ये वाली
फाइनल कर दे।
एक्चुअली आज थोड़ा कुछ काम है, मैं कल आता हूँ।
भाईजान, चाय तो लेते जाइए। नमाज अदा करने वाले हाथ बाप्पा की मूर्ति सजाएंगे तो हैरानी तो होगी ही।
यही काम क्यों?
भाईजान, ये भी तो इबादत है। तो कल मिलेंगे ना?
नहीं, आप बप्पा की मूर्ति बुक कर दीजिए।
कौन सी? वो 4 हाथ वाली?
नहीं नहीं, अभय मुद्रा वाली।
I'm sure we've all read of how people from the Muslim community are such an integral part to Indian festivals, whether it's Durga Puja or Ganpati, and we thought that was a great aspect of India's unity and diversity that we could highlight. And of course, cricket, India's favorite pastime, also provides a great opportunity to unstereotype probably cricket's greatest rivalry. Many of you might remember the 1996 World Cup quarter-final in which that famous or infamous altercation happened between Venkatesh Prasad and Amir Sohail. And we said, why not get them together over a cup of tea?
For the very first time on television by Brookbond Red Label Swad Apnepan Ka और Amir Sohail and Venkatesh Prasad.
So he showed his bat, he pointed his finger towards that, and he did say, if I'm right, I hope I can quote this, you did say, I'm going to hit you next ball there.
No, I never said that. because I remember I remember my bowling days. I was not a bowler. So what I used to do was irritate the batsman.
Brookbond Red Label, the taste of togetherness.
Catch the epic reunion brought to you by Brookbond Red Label only on Dil Se India, 23rd September Sunday at 8 a.m. live on the Star Sports Network and Hotstar.
Yeah, and of course the proof of the pudding is in eating it, as they say. And before we started on this journey about 10 years back, we were a relatively distant number 2 to our nearest competitor. And today we're a pretty strong number 1 ahead of our nearest competitor. So basically people have voted for inclusion, and the fact that we are able to do this to the benefit of the business encourages us, and also in many ways makes us strengthens the faith that we have that people are inherently inclusive. We've just got to make it, or just make it more conscious, or make it more maybe purposeful, and just bring it alive. So that's really the journey of Red Label that I wanted to share. Thank you very much.